Well, hello everyone. Happy Easter Sunday to everyone. It is about 1:30 here on Sunday afternoon. Wanted to do an update video. It does look like April 1st, so tomorrow, Monday, not an April Fool's joke here. Does look like it'll be a pretty significant day of severe weather for a large swath of the country, really from the southern plains and some of North Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, across the Mississippi Valley, even into the Midwest as well. I'm going to focus more on the Southern Plains since that's where I live here, and I think a lot of people that watch this probably similarly, but other people and channels will certainly be covering some of the Midwest and Mississippi Valley. But it does look like a pretty significant severe weather day. Some tornadoes, I think we'll see mainly a big time hail threat. And I'll go into a little bit of that on why. So this is our simulated radar reflectivity here. So if I kind of slow this down, this would be our Monday morning, nothing too exciting here. And then as we move forward in time, we could see some storms maybe by around late morning, midday across northeast Oklahoma and into Missouri that may start to get going. And then as we move forward in time, again, we may see by about the lunch hour some storms across the Midwest here and the Mississippi Valley start to fire up. Nothing here really in the southern plains going yet. But once we start to get into probably that 4 to 5 p.m. window, it does look like we're going to see a line of storms firing all the way from kind of northwest, north Texas, across Oklahoma, into southeast Kansas and Missouri. And then as we move forward in time, a couple hours, several embedded, wherever you see these black lines, these are our stronger updrafts and storms. So we are seeing lots of evidence of that. These are going to be stronger storms, likely some either isolated supercells or embedded supercells within this line, really all the way from the Midwest and Missouri and Kansas, Northeast Oklahoma, all the way down here to North Texas. So then as we move forward in time, we do see a little bit more of a line across much of Texas start to develop. And then this really lines out across Missouri and Oklahoma. And then we press forward, and that continues to move off to the south and southeast overnight. So pretty significant day there. A lot of really strong storms here. When we look at our overall pattern, I did want to go to our RAP model. Let's zoom out to the United States. And then let's look at our jet stream pattern here. This is going to show us exactly kind of what is taking place. So if we move forward in time or back in time here, we can see that we have this big kind of trough here. And so you see this big digging down of the jet stream down into Baja, Mexico, and then it accelerates here across the desert southwest into the southern plains. So as we move forward in time on Monday, what we're going to notice is that these stronger wind speeds denoted by the reddish and purple colors here, they're going to start to ease into Oklahoma and Kansas and Missouri right around afternoon time on our Monday. So that's going to be our big triggering event for really igniting those storms is we're going to get that added shear, that kind of speed max here in the jet stream that starts to accelerate here across North Texas, Oklahoma, and into Missouri and Kansas as well. So that is going to be at place. We kind of have this positively tilted trough. This is going to give us that catalyst and then a little bit of a low pressure system that develops here as well. When we move down to our 850 millibars here, we'll probably see a low across maybe the Texas Panhandle or into Oklahoma here. And that's going to really pull some of these winds northward throughout the kind of afternoon and evening period of time. Now, one other thing we always look for is certainly where is that moisture? And again, this is actually an event that we don't have any issues with moisture. This is something that has plagued a couple of events recently, last Sunday, for example. But what we can see here is we've got a very broad warm sector. We've got 60s, almost 70-degree dew points here from the eastern part of Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, the Midwest, Mississippi Valley, big swath of really, really moist atmosphere here. So no issues with moisture really from the dry line all the way along the warm front here and the cold front as well. No issues whatsoever with moisture. So that's certainly going to be a plentiful environment. We can see here with our theta E, that's kind of a combination of temperature as well as moisture. And we can see that that's just going to be kind of flowing northward throughout the day. A little bit of a warm front here across the Midwest and Mississippi Valley, a little bit of a dry line here across Oklahoma and Texas. So plenty of triggers for severe weather. When we look at a couple of our severe weather parameters, this is our supercell composite. So what this shows is what areas of the environment are maybe most conducive to those supercell thunderstorms. So really across again Missouri and southern Illinois into southeast Kansas, Oklahoma, down into North Texas. That's where we see our brightest colors here. And then our significant tornado parameter. This is also a measure of maybe where the environment is most conducive to those stronger tornadoes or just more of a tornado threat. And we can see that especially across southeast Kansas and Missouri into eastern Oklahoma and then down into North Texas as well. Certainly will have a more isolated threat, but a threat nonetheless. And so that's a little bit of kind of the environment here that we're going to be looking at. One thing that I did want to take a look at is an example of a sounding here in North Texas. So this will be tomorrow evening around 7 p.m. This is showing us a lot of different parameters on what the atmosphere will look like. So a couple things that we look at here. This is our hodograph. So we oftentimes look at this to look at what direction and wind shear is in the atmosphere. Now, as we've talked about on previous channels, if you're looking for a big tornado threat, you want to see a big looping hodograph here, and this is relatively small. So I think that we're not going to see a significant tornado risk, at least in North Texas. I think maybe across Missouri there could be more of a realized tornado threat. We can't rule it out, and so we could still see a tornado if everything comes together. But anytime that you see a hodograph that's relatively small in the low levels here, but then has this long, extended rest of the hodograph up in the atmosphere, this is very, very conducive to a very large hail threat. So I think across North Texas, our biggest risk is going to be very, very large hail. We can see that as well from this profile here. This is called a skew T. So this area between the blue dash line and our red line, which is temperature, everything kind of in between this area here, that is where our instability is formed. And so when you have weak low level shear and you have a lot of instability here in these middle and upper areas of the atmosphere, that typically is a pretty textbook sounding for an environment very conducive to 2, 3 inch, egg, baseball, softball size hail. So that's probably going to be our main threat tomorrow is some significant hail and those stronger storms. So again, did want to point this out. The last thing I'll touch on is when we look at a couple of different of our models here. So this is our HRRR model from this morning. Again, showing storms really from Missouri, southeastern Kansas, eastern Oklahoma, down into North Texas. We look at our 3 kilometer NAM. I'm just going to kind of run through a couple of these models. This one does show stuff a little bit further to the west, a little bit more isolated. Not sure if that's as believable. This seems to be a little bit more of the outlier. And then we just kind of click through some of these models. Again, southeast Oklahoma, Texas, Missouri. We've got some storms. This next model, let's see here. So this one, again, North Texas, almost to the Abilene area. We got storms here, again in Missouri. We look at the next model. We got storms here, North Texas, southeast Oklahoma, northeast Oklahoma, southeast Kansas, into Missouri. Then we'll check one more model here. Again, North Texas, southern Oklahoma, maybe a little bit further west, southeast Kansas, Missouri. So again, whether you look at one model or a lot of these different models, there's a lot of consistency that we're going to see a pretty significant storm environment for our Monday. Again, across a pretty large swath of the country. And so if we go back to our Southern Plains area here, and I go back to our simulated radar reflectivity here, and again, this is going to be around our, let me go forward in time here a little bit. Okay, yeah, 12 o'clock. So again, this would be at 7 p.m. on Monday. Again, from Missouri and into Illinois, Indiana, we've got storms along the warm front, southeastern Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, down the 35 corridor into northeast Texas. Significant severe weather is going to be possible for our Monday. So make sure that you plan accordingly for tomorrow. Again, not an April Fool's joke, even though it is going to be on April 1st. But does look like, again, some tornado threat, especially across Missouri and the Mississippi Valley, possibly in areas like Oklahoma and North Texas. But a very large hail threat's probably going to be our main primary danger tomorrow. So stay weather aware, have a way to get watches and warnings, and stay tuned to the forecast tomorrow. I'm sure things will certainly change here in the next 24 hours or so to some degree, but all things being considered, looks like a pretty significant day. So I hope everybody stays safe out there. I will be planning to chase here tomorrow evening, probably here across North Texas or southern Oklahoma. We'll fine tune the details. But hope everybody has a good rest of your Easter Sunday, and I'll see you back for the next video.